Um,
Christine.
yes. So we like to make our sessions available on our website as well. So if people can't make it to the session or they want to go back to it, they can. So if you head to our website, you'll see a list kind of on the lower left-hand side about all the different training sessions that we've had. Yeah, and last but not least, because people love up-to-date, we have access to up-to-date for you. So you can actually access this on your own yourself. So if you are on site at a facility where the IP address of the computer it would belong to like a health region facility like hospital or Manitoba Health, you can go straight in. Otherwise, you can go in through our website and sign in with your library card number and access it that way. So if you were like at home or if you were in a private office that's not connected to one of the health region networks. So that's pretty popular. That's pretty awesome. Okay. Here we go. All right. So poll number 2. Have you tried searching the new PubMed? We want to know. Okay. So yeah. So if you've searched it fairly recently, fairly often, if you have just attended a webinar. Okay, we're about 50-50. So some people have tried it, some people have just attended a webinar, but not everybody has voted, although I don't know if everyone plans to. I'll just wait a couple minutes.
And no one's identified as a power user yet.
No, unless you're just keeping that under wraps for now. Okay, well, I'm going to close the poll just to keep things moving, but it's good to know where everyone is at. Okay, and we have a bit of a warning here. So if you've been using the new PubMed, you might have noticed this. So some stuff isn't working as expected all of the time, or certain features might not have been moved over to the new interface yet. We assume that things are going to kind of get worked out eventually, but we just kind of have to go with it for now. Sometimes it involves kind of coming back later. Again, it's one of those things when you make a change to anything, there's always going to be stuff that is unexpected. Okay, so what we're talking about today in our part 2 of PubMed centers around what's called a MyNCBI account. And so PubMed is just one piece in a very much larger suite of resources that's offered by the National Library of Medicine. Okay, and so NCBI stands for the National Center for Biotechnology Information. So PubMed deals with the research literature. There's other databases in there that deal with like genetics. ToxNet is one of them as well. But the account that we're talking about with MyNCBI is not connected to your MHIKNET account. So this is separate. So it's like if you signed up for, I don't know, like a account with, I can't even think of a good example, but like, sometimes commercial websites will have, you can sign up for things like newsletters and whatnot. So that's unrelated to anything else. You've just signed up. So it's the same kind of idea. It is a library type thing, but it is not connected to MyNet. And MyNCBI has a bunch of things within it. The ones that we are going to talk about today that we think you'll get the most out are the safe searches, collections, the recent activity box, and search filters. So, quick question. Does anyone actually have a MyNCBI account already? Let me just fire this one up. This is our last poll, I promise.
And we're just asking this out of our own curiosity, just so we know where people are and again, just it helps us provide the right amount of detail to you.
Yes, okay, and everyone says no. So I'm gonna say that's great. Okay, so let me switch over to PubMed and we can get to the fun part. All right, so I'm in the new version of PubMed here. I've got my search box, and up towards the right corner, we've got this login. And if I click on that, it's going to take me to where I can log in if I already have an account. If you don't have one, other login options, you can select that. And you could, if you wanted to, you could log in with your Google account, or at the very, very bottom, you can just sign up. So if you want to get my NCBI, my NCBI account, you would just go through the registration process that you would click on to sign up. So I'm just going to log in now. And it looks pretty much like nothing has changed, but you can see up in the corner, I've got my username, which is Nielsen C. And if I click on that, I get a few options, okay? And we're going to concentrate on the dashboard. So if you click on dashboard, you're going to get a page that looks very much like the old PubMed in terms of the aesthetic. The My NCBI hasn't transitioned over to the new interface yet, but it still works. If we go back to PubMed, you'll see that all of the things that I want to do, I can still do. So we've got a few boxes. We've got filters, which we're going to talk about in a bit. We've got saved searches, and I've got a whole bunch. You can see like there's this little wheel. This is to edit my search. If I wanted to run this search again, I could just click on it and go. And it says, you know, the last time that it was actually run. So I know that like 4 years ago, I looked up a whole bunch of stuff about contact dermatitis. And if I need to go back to that, I can. Okay. I've got recent activity, and I've got collections here. All right, so if I want to go back, where did it go? Help me, Orvi. I'm not seeing the link to PubMed at the bottom.
Oh, right in the middle under popular.
Oh,
The middle column.
It's at
Yeah.
the top. Yes, I was looking too far down the list. Okay, so I am going to do a search, and I have decided I'm going to do a search about the effect of a high altitude on blood glucose levels for people with type 1 diabetes. Okay. So I'm going to type in my search. So let's go glucose, sugar, altitude, and so type 1, a million different ways you could say type 1.
And just while Christine's typing, I'll just add for anyone who missed our session last week, the recording is available, and we talk about some of the things that Christine has incorporated here, like the asterisk we call that truncation, or the brackets and the quotations and the ands and the ors. All that kind of stuff is included in the session that we've recorded.
You bet. So you can see that I've got my different concepts together. So glucose or blood sugar is the same idea. So they're in a bracket together. I've got my different concepts connected by and, the same concepts divided by or, connected by or. I'm having a day here. Okay, so if I search for that, let's see what we find. Okay, so it tells me I've got 29 results. We've got the Wilderness Medical Society Clinical Practice Guidelines for Diabetes Management. We've got something about closed loop control in adolescents and children during winter sports. I imagine the altitude there comes in with skiing. High intensity physical exercise and hypoxia on glycemia. Oh, I could have used glycemia as a term. There you go. Managing diabetes at high altitude. All kinds of stuff that looks like it might be useful. So for the sake of argument, this is like the best search I could come up with, and I want to be able to run it again at some later point, right? Because this is a topic I am very interested in. I do a lot of work on that kind of stuff. So if I want to save it so that it shows up in that box of save searches, I can do that. And this is kind of where that, things aren't working 100% yet thing comes in. Now you will notice that it says save. This is not to save this search. This is actually to save the results. For the time being, if you want to save a search so that you can just click and run, we need to go to create alert, right? So if you click on create alert, it says, oh, your saved search, you need to name it. So I'm going to name it blood glucose and altitude. Did I spell altitude? Right, so I name it. It's got my search terms in the box here, so I can review them to make sure that that's what I want. I could change them at this point if I wanted. And then down here it says, do you want an yes or no? Right, so if I select no, all those extra things, they go away, and it's just going to show up in that that box of saved searches. So the thing, if I want to just automatically get alerts, I can say yes, right? And so it says, what email do you want? And of course, I'm logged into my NCBI, so it has an email on file. It's just automatically put that in. It asks for how often I want this search to run. I could do it monthly, weekly, or daily, depending on the topic. This one does not strike me as the kind of thing that there's going to be new research coming out every day, but you never know. So I can just say, I don't have time to go through emails all the time. I just want it monthly or whatever works, right? So you can say what day of the week you want it on, the first Monday, the first Thursday, the first Friday, whatever works for you. And then you can also specify the format, right? So summary, that's the view that we saw when the results came up. So it had the citation and a little snippet from the article itself. Okay, so you can have that in either HTML or as a text option. The abstract view is a little bit different. It's got the citation information, but it gives you the full abstract. So it's not just that little snippet anymore. Probably I'm going to go with abstract just because that's what I like. You can specify how many things you want to get. I want them all. So if 200 items come out this month about this article, I want to see them. And then last but not least, in the little selection box, we've got send even if there aren't results. So I personally wouldn't do this because I don't need to get an email every day or week or month saying, guess what, there's no new articles on your topic. I just want to see when things are new, right? And then I can give myself a little note. So these are new articles on altitude. If I could spell on altitude. Right, okay, and then I could save that. And then it's gonna automatically send me emails as new things are put into PubMed that fit with my search criteria. Okay, I'm gonna save it just because. So now I can always go back and change it though. So if I want to, I can do that now. Otherwise, I can go back to my dashboard. And there it is, right? So the last time it was searched was today. There is nothing new because I literally did it less than a minute ago, right? If I want to edit it, if I thought of a great new search term, or I want to add something, change something, I want to add in like guideline or something for a search term, I could do that in the search terms box. Otherwise, it's got all the same information as when I saved it. So maybe now I want to do it every week, and I want to do it on Wednesday, right? So save. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. You just kind of have to know where it is you want to click. All right. So I will pause at this point. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in the question box. I know I'm kind of talking right now, but Orvi is monitoring. So have we had any questions so far, Orvi?
We have not had any questions yet.
Okay, excellent. Well, in that case, I'm going to move on to collections. Right. So you guys noticed in my dashboard, I had in my case, I had it below save searches. You can actually move these around if you like to have things at the top different. Maybe you want the collections or something like that at the top. And this is kind of like saving stuff for later, right? So I'm going to go back. PubMed. All right. So I'm going to click on advanced search. So I can see where I was. That's my search that I ran, and I want to go back to those results. So I'm going to click on the 29. Okay, so if I decide this one looks good, this one looks good, this one looks good, this one looks good, and I want to kind of hold on to these for later, I can click on send to, and we have some options, right? So third from the top is collections. And it's going to say, okay, you want everything, or do you want just the selection? I want the selection. Is this to an existing collection or a new one? This is actually a new one. So okay, blood glucose. So going to add that. And you might be thinking, well, why would I want to do this? Well, if you are involved with any kind of training, like education sessions at work, maybe you need to come up with a reading list, that kind of thing. Or maybe you just like to keep track of a particular topic. Then you can create these little bibliographies. Okay. Now, unlike the searching one, the saved search one, this box, the new ones go to the bottom. So if I look at the bottom, altitude and blood glucose, I can click on this little gear to change the settings. You'll notice it says private at the moment, so only I can see it. But I can change that. So if I was doing some kind of training, for example, I could make this public. I'm going to save that. Okay, and so now I'm looking at my collection right now. It says this collection is public. I can change that to make it private. I can do all kinds of things. So I can change the display. So I can say I want to put them in order by title, by author. Right now it's in date for order, so newest to oldest. And I can just click on the link here to get to that particular record if I need to, right? Let's go back. Now, if you did make this a public collection, this URL up at the top, this is how you would share it with people. So you could copy that and paste it into an email. If you have like a little bit of a website going, maybe on your intranet or something like that, you could incorporate that onto your page so that people could click on that and then get to the collection and then do what they need to do. Okay, so that we're conveniently at the halfway point, and that kind of brings me to the end of the part I was going to talk about. Before Orvi takes over, are there any questions about what we've discussed so far?
I'll just remind you, you can enter any questions you have into that chat box. And also we're available afterwards or anytime really. If you think of a question later, or if you're doing some testing yourself after and you think like, gosh, wait, I thought they said this, you can always contact us after too.
Exactly. Okay, well, in that case, take it away, Orvi.
Okay, so we just need a second, as I think you have to make me the presenter. Or can I do that? Great. Here we go. And I will just make sure you can see the correct screen here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're back in business. And I will just say some of these things you might think like, gosh, I just don't understand why I would ever need to do this, or what would I ever use this for? And I'll just reiterate that the point of today is just to make you available about all these different tools that, or some of these different tools that are available that we thought might be of interest. And some of them might just click right away and you might think, gosh, I know like this is going to save me so much time, or this is going to make things easier for me, then definitely implement those. For the other ones, you might just want to go in and kind of goof around with them, try them out. But if you don't see a need for any of them, don't worry about it. But the whole point is just to make sure you know about all the options that are available to you. So Christine touched, I'm going to go into my NCBI and you'll see that I'm logged in as O Dingwall, that's me. And I'm just going to come in here. Christine mentioned this, and you'll see that my layout is a little bit different than Christine's, and that's just like she said, you can move these things around and kind of customize them as you like, or just leave them as they are. That's fine too. Now, one of these boxes is recent activity, and this is sometimes helpful. If you, especially for those of you who are working with home, and especially who are, have other people in your home with you, if you've been doing a search and you're kind of in the zone and then you get called away for something else, and then you go to say, it might even be a week later, and you think, gosh, what were those results that I was looking at? Or you might think like, maybe you had limited your results in a certain way and then you want to come back and readdress a larger subset or narrow it or something. Anyway, all your recent activity is here. And so it's just helpful. You can go back and see what you've done or how you've done it. I will also mention that after today's session, we will send you out a copy of the slides that we're using that just take you through each of these steps and each of these topics. So you can have like a worksheet or a handout to take you through. So we will be sending that out. Okay, now we're going to talk about search filters. And this is something that actually I use every single time that I'm searching in PubMed, and it just makes things so slick and so easy. So the first one we're going to use, these ones I don't use as much, but they're still very popular and they're still very good. They're called the clinical queries. And this isn't new to this version of PubMed, but it does, they do look a little different and we like to highlight. So I was on that main page of PubMed, I come down to the bottom, I click on the clinical queries, and this is just if you're looking for clinical information, instead of searching the entirety of PubMed, these are some you can. Oops, I've clicked a button here. Didn't mean to. Sorry about that. Just going to click back. There we go. So you can see here, it'll display our results in 3 different categories. So by clinical studies, it'll filter by systematic reviews, and also medical genetics. So if these are things that you are interested in, this is a handy little tip to help you search a little bit faster. So, and more efficiently. I'm just going to type in a little quick search here. So diabetic foot and elderly or senior, put a little truncation on there, or aged, and then I'm going to click enter, or I could click on the search. And then what you'll see here are the displays. So again, it's laid out so easily to view. I'm just going to keep making it a little bit zoomed in so it's a bit easier to see, I hope. So on the left-hand side, clinical studies. So if that's what you're interested in, it's displaying 5 of 1,837 results. There's also 38 systematic reviews, and there's 147 genetics information. Now, some of these will be cross-listed in these columns, and some of them will be independent. So you can see that the category here under clinical studies, it's currently at therapy and the scope is broad. So if you think, gosh, I don't want to flip through, you know, almost 2,000 results, I want to make the scope narrow. So I'm going to narrow it out. It's knocked that number of results down a lot further. So that will make it make it easier to screen. Now, maybe it's not the therapy for the diabetic foot in the elderly that you're interested in, but maybe it's about the prognosis. So I can click that and you can see it changed the results. Now there's a few more. And again, some of them might be the same results, some of them might be different because of course things that talk about therapy might also talk about prognosis. And you can just see that there are these 5 different category filters that you can add. So really quick, really simple, really easy to add. All right, I'm going to come back to the main page of PubMed. Here we go. I'm going to do that same search here, diabetic foot and elderly or senior or aged. There we go. Okay. Now you can see I've got a lot more results, almost 5,500. And over here on the left-hand side, there's the My NCBI filters. And so I could filter to English, to guideline, to review. Now, the ones that, if you're following along at home, or if you happen to have peeked at what Christine had available, you might think like, gosh, I'm always using these same filters all the time. And so if you want to add other filters, you can scroll down and you can select the ones here. You can go to additional filters, or you can come up, if there's ones that you know you use all the time, come on up to your My NCBI account. And this just takes us a couple seconds as it flips through to get through there. And on this page, then I come down, or I look around and I find my filters. And it says that these are the filters that I've applied for PubMed and that I have 3 active. So those are the same that we just saw, the English, the guideline, and the review. If I want to add some, or if I want to change them, then I can click on Manage Filters. So this is something actually that once you get it set up, it's very rare that you have to make modifications unless you've really fundamentally changed what you're looking for or how you're searching or what you want to get updates on. Now, I mean, for some people that might change all the time. For the rest of us, that might be pretty common. With this new version of PubMed, if you had it all set up beautiful, how you liked it and everything made sense and your favorite filters were all listed, the new version has kind of gunked it up a little. And so now's the time to come back into your My NCBI and just make customized things for the way that you are searching and to the things that you're interested in. Okay, so we've got an option page here. So if you're thinking like, oh gosh, this is a whole lot of stuff, it's the kind of stuff you only need to set up once, maybe modify every now and then. Okay, I'm going to come over here, browser search for PubMed filters. I'm going to select my category. The first one is popular, and you can see here that it has popular kind of filters that you might want to do. So English, free full text, humans, that kind of thing. I can also change it to properties. And this is getting into now. So let's say I'm always searching, in that search, instead of me having to type out diabetic foot and aged, elderly, seniors, etc. I mean, there are a lot of search terms that you could use to describe an older aged group. So PubMed has already done that for us. So I'm going to click on this age group and you can see all of the different age groups that I could select. And I'm going to say, okay, I am interested. You can just choose the ones that you're interested in. 80 years and over and aged, let's say. And now you can see that they've added to my filter list. So that's awesome. So now instead of having to type diabetic foot and all those age groups, I can just filter by that age category. So that makes things really helpful too. Okay, I'm also going to click now into this link out. If you happen to have a library card with the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority or with University of Manitoba or some other university, you can click in and link to your libraries here. But this is still, even if you don't have that kind of electronic access, this is helpful for different kinds of collections that are available for free. So you might be, sorry, I clicked on literature, didn't quite mean to. If I click on medical resources, I might be really interested in clinical trials and what's going on. And the trial information is always freely available, so I could click on those. Or if I'm always looking for great information to give to patients, I might be really interested in this consumer health. And so there's also some genetics ones, there's some household product ones, there's Medline Plus, which is our favorite place to get consumer health information. So I could click on these, I can add them to my filter. And then when I go to search, now you can see I used to have 3 active, now I've got 6 active. That's really great. I'm going to come back to PubMed and I'll just show you this little search. So now I can do my diabetic foot, click search, and now I can filter it. Instead of typing in those things, I can do 80 and over. I can also let that load, and then I can click aged. And there I've got some, oh, it just takes a minute to load, and now it's loaded. Now, sometimes when you do these filters, you don't always grab the brand newest information, so that's just a heads up, but it is really, really quick and easy to do. Now, you can also create custom filters when either MyNCBI doesn't have a preset, or when you have created a special search for something that you really like. So I know sometimes people who are interested in something like fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, there isn't a generic PubMed search for that. You might want to add that as a filter. So or it could be anything that you've got a favorite filter from. So again, from your MyNCBI, and I don't know why it has to flash this. Oh, it took me right there. It's been flashing that other screen first. So I can go again into my filters, manage filters. And this is the one I'm looking at my notes a lot here, because this isn't the kind of thing, again, that I do all the time, but I can go to create custom filter, and then I could type in my the search that I wanted here. So if I was searching on health inequities or social determinants of health, I could do a search here. And I would never build my search right here. I'd always build it first and test it out a little and then put it in here. I'm just going to throw these terms in here. I can test my query. It'll tell me about how much are found. Again, I would do this all in PubMed first and then copy my search string and pop it in here. And then I could say, I'm going to save this filter as health equity. And then I'm going to save my filter. So again, anything that you find yourself searching for repeatedly, you might want to set up an alert so you're getting those references into your inbox. You might want to set up this search filter so that instead of it junking up your email, that you can just come here whenever you want to. and then you can just do that search. There's lots of, you might want to do both. There's lots of different options for you. And I'm just going to check here. I think that was everything I was going to cover on that one. Oh, and then, I'll just say one thing, and then I think Christine's got a question. I have to, right here, you'll notice that all my other ones are active. To make sure I can see my beautiful new health equity search, I need to click it as active, and now it will show on my list.
That is all I had to say, Orvi. I thought you were going to leave and you'd go to the other page and say, where is it?
Yeah.
And we'd all be confused.
And this is something, frankly, that I was really hoping that PubMed was, in this new version, it was going to be better at, once you select a filter, that then you're applying it. But no, there's still this double, you have to like create it and then select it. So here we are back with our diabetic foot, and we've got health equity, and it's prompting that there are 59. So I believe that that's relating to, yes. So that's really slick, and that's helpful. And I believe that's a new feature, is it not, Christine? Showing us right here?
Well, it was actually in a different spot before. So if you had filters set up, it would do the same thing, but just elsewhere.
I see. Yeah, this is a lot more prominent. So you can already see, instead of having to do these, like scroll all over the place on the old version of PubMed, or run these searches, you can just quickly see, okay, diabetic foot, there's 59 guidelines. 10,000 of the results are in English. Here, and you can just quickly browse through those filters. So that is really quite slick and quite nice to have there. Okay, the other tool that I'm just going to go to the main page of PubMed. So to get back there, I just click on the PubMed, not on the National Library of Medicine. That takes you into like all those other things that are available. So I just want to stay here in the safe sphere of PubMed and our millions of records. But I'm going to come down here to, so below under Find, so there was Advanced Search, Clinical Queries, which we talked about. Now here's the Single Citation Matcher. This is something librarians, we love this so much. And I think that it's just a really handy tool. So if there's a reference and maybe you only had partial information, so maybe you only knew the author's name and the date, you could pop that in here too. You could pop that in here, and then it would really help to focus something. Also, if you thought, gosh, I know that Christine published an article in a certain journal, but I don't remember what year it was or what it was called or what it was about or anything like that, you can just use this to help fill it in. So I can put in, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to put Dingwall with an O for Orvi, and then I'm going to say, gosh, I remember that I worked on some project in 2019, but for the life of me, I can't remember who I worked on it with. And then it pulls up these results, and I can see, oh gosh, that's right. It was Scott Donald, who was the lead author on that paper. There we go. Or you could, so it's just really helpful. Sometimes I use it too. So if I've got a favorite author and I want to see what they've done, sometimes to pop the names, especially with the initials, to put it in here and then remember like the spacing and the brackets and all that kind of stuff, it can be fussy. And especially if we put, then you have to remember Anne 2019, and then is it year, is it YR, what is the abbreviation? Instead of having to remember all of that, you can just use the single citation matcher. So there's all kind of like niche reasons you might want to use it, but if you're just looking primarily, I think you may be interested if you know a little bit about a citation and you want to know the full citation, pop in that information into that nice structure on single citation matcher, and it will help you out to what you want to find. So that sort of concludes the the things that we were going to talk about today. We talked about lots of those features in MyNCBI. It's really nice to, if you're going to be using PubMed a lot, just sign up for a MyNCBI account, and then you can slowly start to create the sort of environment in PubMed that is friendly to you. So I know that I use MyNCBI. The reason that I signed up for it was because I hated the default settings that PubMed made me do. And I wanted to highlight my search terms, and I wanted to display my abstracts and do lots of things like that. And MyNCBI lets you do that. We
Well,
talked about,
it did.
yeah, it's still in progress. So, yeah. And then we talked about the built-in filters. So just to help you narrow those results further, especially when you're using them all the time. So whereas last week's, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago, session was about how do you do filtering? Today's session, hopefully what you're getting out of it is if you're doing things all the time, there are ways that you can optimize that searching and make it easier for you. You can make your own search filters. And similarly, if you think like, gosh, I want to have this own search filter, and I'm sorry, I hope you can't hear like the chaos that my family is happening. I'm not sure if you can hear that. There's some kind of crisis going on. And sorry, search filters. So if you think, gosh, I would love to have a search filter about health equality or health equity or health inequity, but I'm not sure how to build that myself, and I want it to be comprehensive, but not too comprehensive, we can build that search for you, and we can share that search string with you, and then you can set it up in your MyNCBI if that's something that you're looking for. You're welcome to build it yourself. We can also help you with it. And then we also talked about how to use the single citation manager. All right, I will pause there, and I'm going to mute this so you can't hear the turmoil that is happening because my 7-year-old is being requested to go outside. Yeah, we'll pause for questions, and this is our contact information if you want to contact us after.
Now, while you were talking, Orvi, I did notice that there was a hand that went up and then it went back down. So I'm not sure if somebody clicked it by accident or not. But if you do have a question, please do put it in the search box, and we'd be happy to answer as best we can. Just as an aside, I know for the single citation manager, Orvi, something that I kind of struggle with sometimes is that people like to talk in abbreviations. So you're talking to them and they're like, oh, you know, so-and-so, their article. And it's always like the last name of the first author and the year, or even if it's not always the year, it's like, oh, it's the Dingwall article. And it's like, well, what's that?
The Dingwall article about the RAB, RCT, RNAO, and
sure.
none of those terms were in the title nor the abstract because they're just acronyms and short of knowing what, yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little something I like to keep up my sleeve when I need to figure out what people are referring to. So I'm not seeing any questions.
We've had a quiet. Yeah, I think maybe we'll just reiterate that we'll send out our slide decks and we'll send out the link to the recording as we always do. And if you enjoyed today's session, please tell your friends and your colleagues. And our recordings the most recent ones are all available on mynet.ca. And we are just getting ready to announce what our future sessions are. So we're certainly having sessions in July, August, and then through the fall. And we're just kind of looking at some options for our June session. Normally we don't have a June session because we usually go to our health libraries conferences, but we're not doing that this year. So if ever there is a session that would be of interest to you, we're happy to create that and do a webinar like this. We're also happy to, if you've got a team and you all would like to just, you know, kind of have us walk you through the steps of certain things, we're happy to do that kind of training as well. Okay, well,
Well,
maybe,
thanks for coming.
yeah, and we'll end there. Yeah, thanks so much for coming. Bye, everybody.